Obviously, we got a great challenge going to Southern Miss. You look at that Southern Miss team, we've, of course, had the opportunity to play in the last 5 years and played well against them. They're back to being Southern Miss. I thought they were back to being Southern Miss a year ago when they won the West, and they got most of those players back. So they got the excellent football team. Their offense, led by Mullins, the quarterback, has started for 4 years. Played 2 of those years against us, was hurt the 1 year. But this will be his 3rd year starting against us. They got the #1 offense in the league, one of the top offenses in the league, and defensively they're #1 in the league as well. So, like I say, they're an excellent football team. Our football team has to go back and get to work and work to get better individually and get better as a team and find a way to go win a game. So that's where we are.
Do you feel like all the preseason focus was on Mullins, but you look at their rushing attack with Ito Smith, it's very strong. You look at their defense, it's been very strong. Do you feel like, too many teams lay focus on Mullins too heavily and don't focus on those other areas?
Well, like I say, they've done a good job of taking what defense gives you. You mentioned that running back's a tremendous back. The one back they had against us a year ago is playing in the NFL, and this kid here is he's really good. He's averaging well over 100 yards a game, and he's about 190 pounds, but he can run with power. He can also make you miss. They get him out of the backfield and throw him the ball. If you look at his number of catches and yards he has catching the football, he does a great job with that too. They got 2 junior college wide receivers that they brought in that's been immediate impact for him. So Jay's done a nice job with that team. They're a talented team that he took over, and he's done a good job of coaching them up and got them playing really good on defense and offense, and he's done a good job with them.
You changed the message at all in terms of trying to get the guys to eliminate mistakes?
Well, you just got to go to work, Keith. And you have to. I mean, you can't have the number of penalties we've had and drop the number of balls we've dropped in critical situations and win. And at the end of the day, we've got to do a better job of coaching them, and they got to take coaching and we just got to go out every day and work to get better as an individual and work to get better as a team. And at the end, we just have to go back to work, and that's what you do. And when you're struggling, you go through adversity, you get up and you go back to work, and that's what we're going to do. So this is a good bunch of kids, and they'll go out and go to work like we always do and work to get better.
It seemed like Southern Miss, it's a game that Gary Thompson has really been able to have a big game in a couple of seasons and get edge pressure, even though they've come in with a pretty strong offensive line from what we can recall. What has been the success of the defensive line in getting the Mullins and disrupting him early?
Well, I mean, the thing is they got 3 starters back on that offensive line. They've got the 3 inside guys are back. The 2 tackles are playing well, but they're young guys. And but we've been able to get some pressure on them in the past, and Gary's been one of those guys able to do that. So it's going to be critical that we can get some pressure on him again down there, because if you let him sit back there and throw the football without any pressure, you're going to have problems covering those guys.
Is there anything you can take from last year's game, which may have been the best of your whole season?
Mm-hmm.
Anything that transfers to this game in preparation?
Well, it's a little different. If it had been the same coaching staff, I would have said yes, but with a totally different, the offensive coordinator is totally different. Of course, the defensive coordinator is totally different. So probably not so much scheme-wise, Doug, but one thing you can take from last year's tape is the personnel, and study the personnel and how we matched up against some of the personnel. But other than that, there's not probably a lot you can take from it.
I know that third down emphasis has been strong throughout the last few weeks as you're trying to get things right, but they're top 10 in the country in third down defense. How do you put extra emphasis on that this week and make sure that those things are fine-tuned going down there?
Well, for example, last week, I mean, we had the opportunity to convert on 3 third downs and didn't make the play. Had the opportunity to make the play and didn't. So when we get the opportunity to make a play on third down or to convert, you have to do it. And same thing defensively. You get them in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and you work to get off the field. Somebody's got to step up and make a play. And so we just have to, again, go out and get better at making plays. And when you have the opportunity to make a play, we do that. And we got to get better at doing it.
I feel like the team started pressing a little bit. They got into a little bit of a rut and tried to make the perfect play at certain times, and that sort of snowballed things.
Well, I mean, I think there's no question. I mean, I don't know if they're pressing. I think at some point, we got a lot of guys. Mike Clark hadn't had to make a third down play in 5 years. And I mean, he's got some young guys out there that you put in that situation that have never been put in that situation. But you have to make that play. I mean, you practice it, and you do it, and you go over it and over it. But at some point, you know, we got to do a better job of making plays on both sides of the ball.
Do you rely extra hard on your leaders? Like you say, this is when you got to step up and be the guy to help the young guys?
No question. And, you know, we got some, we're asking some guys to be leaders out there that hadn't played a whole lot of football. I mean, if you look at last year's, with Evan McKelvey's and the DJ Hunters and the Corey Tyndalls and the Jarquez Samuels and all those guys had played an awful lot of football. But you look out there right now, and there's a lot of young guys trying to figure out where to line up. So, you know, we got to help them, and we got to do a better job of coaching them. And we got some guys. They're going to be really good players. You know, Amari Cobb right now, he's going to be a really good player. He's trying to figure out where to line up right now. So, or he's not figuring out where to line. He knows where to line up, but he's just trying to get his job done. So, you know, like I say, they'll continue to work hard and they'll get better.
I know they come in with 2 straight losses, but looking at them on tape sort of reminds me of your all's 2014 team, in which they were really balanced offensively and really good playmakers on the defensive side. Do you see the correlation there?
Well, I mean, any time you're, you know, and I think we've been number one in our conference the last 3 years in defense, and anytime you're that high in defense, you got good players out there, and you know the one thing they remind me a little bit of us because I look out there and see a lot of really good players, and like I say, they've done a good job of getting guys in there. Todd did a good job of getting them in there, and Jay's done a good job of continuing to get players in there and developing what he has, and anytime you look out there and see really good football players, chances are you're going to be pretty high in your stats, both offense and defensively, and they are.
What wrinkles has Hobson thrown into things there?
Yeah, he's a little bit. You know, he's a defensive guy, and I think when he was here, he coached secondary. When he was here, I think he did coach secondary, but he's an excellent defensive coach, and he's a lot of odd package stuff where he's bringing guys from a lot of different places, brings a lot of pressure and a lot of disruption and that type of thing. So he's if you look at the number of sacks they got, they do a good job of getting after the quarterback, and that's what he's done throughout his career.
Doc, with Curry 4 of 8 on the season, do you open that up?
Well, we're going to take a look at it, yes, Woody. And again, we're going to try to put the best person out there we think can make that play. Unfortunately, prior to that, he kicked the same field goal from the same hash and made it. So to answer your question, we're going to try to put the best guy out there based on what happens this week and go from there.
What issues did they run into against UTSA and LSU? You look at their defensive numbers; they're top 20 in a lot of categories, but then they've given up almost 50 points a game in the last.
The biggest issue is LSU. I mean, that's big. I mean, LSU's got some pretty good players, but I think UTSA was able to, they was able to run the ball a little bit on them and had some big plays, and UTSA did a nice job. And same old deal. I mean, in our conference or any conference, there's a lot of scores around the country that people don't quite understand how it happened, but they went there and UTSA did a nice job and beat them. And but UTS made a lot of plays that particular day.
That atmosphere down there. You mentioned the young guys that are going to get their first taste of conference action in an actual pretty live environment. You all always pride yourself on a nice environment here at Marshall, but Southern Miss is probably right up there with you all in that term.
Very similar. I mean, I think very similar as far as fan bases, and they've always drawn really well, and now that they're back to winning and doing what they're doing, I'm sure they'll have a great crowd there for us. So, our kids have to go be able to handle that and go play well. We'll take those young, and we'll get those guys over to the stadium that night before the game and get them to have the opportunity to see the locker room. So when they walk in there, it's not the first time they've walked into that locker room and into that setting.
Is that something normal, or have you all gone away from going to the stadium on Friday?
No, we try to, unless you get in a situation. North Texas was a situation where you got to take an hour and a half to get there and get back, and it's not worth the bus ride to do that. But if we can get it over there, and we're close to that, and without and where kids can do that, we'll continue to do that.
Keon Davis ran the ball well, Doc. I mean, 5 yards carry is great for any back, but he had the helmet thing 2 weeks ago, and he fumbled through the end zone this week. Do those things prevent him from maybe being a starter? Or?
Well, he's got to get those things fixed, because there's no question it hurt us tremendously in both games, and so he's either going to fix it or he's not going to play. and that's just the way it is. But he's a talented young guy that's got to understand what it's all about, and he's got to figure it out quick.
Keeping with the running backs, Anthony Anderson, we saw him limited, it looked like, on punt coverage or something the other day. Is he going to be back? Or
Well, if we got to get him in a full week of practice, and make sure, so if he's healthy and can get a full week of practice in and see where he is in the rotation, then it's hard to get 4 backs ready to go play, and you guys all know that. And but we'll see where he is.
Allen and Selby maybe be back this week.
Selby will look. I think he'll practice a little bit today. Who was the other you mentioned?
Rodney Allen.
Yeah. Yes. To answer your question, yes. Yeah.
Planning to stick with your typical strategy of deferring if you win the toss?
I don't know yet, Doug. I don't know. I haven't got that far yet. I'm trying to get to Tuesday practice.
Doc, is there anything you need to fix, though, coming out of the house? I mean, a couple
No.
long drives last 2 weeks, and then obviously you've made some adjustments after that, but
Well, you got to absolutely. I mean, you always want to start fast, Woody. There's obviously, and you got to fix. You got to make the play on 3rd down. I mean, we had 3rd and 9, and had the opportunity to get off the field, and we don't make a play. The guy scrambles around. We take our eyes off the receiver, and then make a play. I mean, you got to fix just doing your job and getting off the field on 3rd down. And you guys are sitting here telling me, well, let's defer again. But that's part of it. I mean, you've got to go out there and make plays, and we just got to work hard to as players and coaches, and we just got to become a better team, a smarter team. We got to play smarter, and we got to become a better football team. And you only do that by going back to work, which is what we're going to do today.
You mentioned that 3rd down play, and it looked like B, got a hold of Clue just as he let go of the ball, and the ball goes over a DB's head for that big game. Did that sort of seem indicative of things, and do you feel like you're right there with some of those plays to turn a corner?
Well, he's got, and again, but close doesn't count except in horseshoes and hand grenades, I guess. So at the end of the day, you got to make that play. I mean, you got to make the play, and if you don't, you got to be able to make that play. So unfortunately, we didn't do it. All right, guys, thanks.